is, as a reminder, is just review the selection criteria and the guidelines that the RTA board approved on October 29th. And again, these are the selection criteria for the CAC membership selection process. So as a reminder, the selection committee was asked to consider the following criteria when recommending candidates to fill the vacancies on the RTA Citizens Advisory Committee, known as the CAC. There were 4 areas: geographic representation, diversity of thought, economic representation, and demographic representation. One of the suggestions per RTA board was the composition guideline. This included composite membership numbers that are listed below for the 35-member RTA Citizens Advisory Committee. This would include all the existing 22 members and then the new members that will be selected combined. This serves only as a guideline to consider, and it should not be viewed as an absolute requirement in the selection process. But the suggestion was 19 members from the city of Tucson. Again, this is total of the 35. 7 from Pima County, 2 from town of Marana, 2 from Oro Valley, 2 from town of Sahuarita, and then 1 member each from the city of South Tucson, Pasco-Yaqui tribe, and the Tana Autumn Nation. The selection committee is requested to provide a list of the CAC candidates to the best of their abilities to the RTA board for its January 2022 meeting. And then finally, everyone is welcome to participate in the RTA Next planning process. There are and will be many ways for the public to participate in the planning process. Participation on the CAC is limited to 35 members. And the RTA board appoints members to the CAC without regard to race, color, age, gender, and ethnicity in compliance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Any questions on the criteria for the board?
This might be a small thing, I don't know, but I was looking at summary or whatever it's called, I think, legal action. But was this, and I guess this is for the mayor, if it was in any kind of priority, you have demographic and economic, diversity of thought, and geographic representation, which was kind of the opposite of the way it showed up on the thing. Was there any kind of priority, or is it they're all considered equally? Because that was from the motion, I should have said.
Right. I don't think we really got into that.
Okay.
I know that in the bylaws, I guess, looking at bylaws and such, you know, it's kind of like, I don't call it saying more than 2 things on there. One of them was geographic distribution, and the other was, I think it tends to be that choice. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, that's, I guess that was my question. I wasn't sure. I mean, I watched the meeting, but you never quite know. And can you, is there a definition of diversity of thought, or does everybody have their own definition of diversity of thought?
Oh, gee, gosh.
Some tough questions.
That covers a whole lot. I know that in some cases, from what I have heard in the meetings, and I guess some people would like maybe some more professional type people in there, from what I've read. And my feelings are that it should be a little bit more open. You know, I think there's a lot of, I mean, who uses the transit system? You know, the buses, Suntran,
Okay.
Disabled type of transit that's available.
Okay.
And you know, usually they're probably going to be to some extent, maybe not so much the professional people. Maybe they didn't necessarily have the means economically,
kind of users,
to get them,
okay.
so, you know, they're probably going to have more experience with the buses and things
right.
like that, you know,
okay.
how to get around. So I think we should be welcoming people, you know, of diverse interests onto the committee.
Okay, no, that's what I thought too from listening to it, but nobody really defined it. I'm not sure how you guys have defined it. Is that how you feel, two different kind of users?
I believe that, yeah, as we go through the applicant list today, you'll see that there's emphasis on focus areas, and
Yeah.
that's what we're
Right,
hoping
right.
Okay,
to start there.
How many focus areas are there? Like 8 or something like that?
So applicants were asked to select up to 3, but there are,
Yeah, but you're not presented with a
yeah,
total amount of focus areas that were identified in some of the charts that we had.
right. I believe there's up to 10 focus areas.
and that was in the application.
And then they were recombined or something, I think.
Yeah.
There's some process that went on.
So as applicants responded, they were categorized into the
Right.
focus areas that we used for the last process.
But when the announcements are sent out, you know, in terms of recruiting people, they're asked to pick 3, I think, areas of choice that they would be interested in. And I'm thinking a lot of people that that might be wanting to be on the committee may only be focused on one. Maybe that's their only interest. And if that in the announcement or the survey, I guess, the application, I guess, in the application, you could put there, you know, all 8 of them and say, pick your top 3. Something like that might be more meaningful to those people, you know, that may not be aware
Yes,
of
right.
what else is there. So, you know, that might be something that might prevent people, I think, maybe from applying it. Well, you know, I'm being not something that would be of any real interest to me, but not having the bigger overall picture of, you know, what the whole thing is, and then include another category. There might be somebody that's got something in their minds up there, you know, something new and different, and that could be or something that, you know, ideas of maybe one of the existing ones is not that critical, maybe shouldn't be on the list.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing.
And correction, there were 8 focus areas.
Okay,
I was thinking of other.
okay, but
and-
like he's saying, it was just what people say. They didn't know the focus areas because it wasn't on here unless they happen to know it some other way. So you just put them into a category like
Yeah.
transit.
In the application, we asked people to select what they felt were their focus areas. We also didn't want to influence anyone to think that they needed to answer to what the previous applicants had as well. So we wanted to keep it open.
And I think what might be important to that too is that we could look at, I'm sure the committee has as it exists now, they have a viewpoint of what's most important, and we can see how it's changing, if it's changing, by looking at the new recruits and see what is it that they're interested in, and what was it that was of interest to the existing members in the past, and over time, that's probably going to change a little bit. We're going to be able to monitor that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to move into the actual review of applicants. All of you should have received a link that you can access remotely to review applicants. And then today we're going to pull up information that we have provided for you here, as well as the information that you receive remotely. For the privacy of candidates, we excluded all personal information. So all applicants will be referred to as with their app ID number, which is to the left of the information you received in your packets and the information that you see in front of you. We have Josh Pope here from our PAG Transportation Division. He and his team have developed this tool for you to use, and I'll hand it over to Josh to begin illustrating for you how it works.
Thank you, Paki. This is a platform similar to what you have seen in the link. In addition to the table, we reduce the amount of information displayed in the table just highlighting the applicant ID, the jurisdiction that they fall within, their home address falls within, and then the categorized focus areas. And what we have displayed currently are the current 22 members and their home buffer, as previously displayed in board materials. And then we also have the ability to kind of look at some of the groupings. So we can see in these pie charts that of the 22 current members, we have 9 that are currently residing in Tucson, 2 in Oro Valley, 1 in Sahuarita, 8 in unincorporated Pima County, and then we also have the 1 in Marana. So we have the ability to kind of zoom in and check out the different characteristics of these applicants. So this is our current member set. When we go and we look at the applicants, we have 91 applicants distributed across the region. And in addition to the jurisdiction that they fall within, we have an additional breakdown of which essentially CDPs, that the census designated places that the applicants fall in. So unincorporated Pima County is only showing 5 of the applicant pool, as opposed to the 29 that reside in the county, but the breakdown between Catalina Foothills or Vail or Green Valley is broken further in this area pie chart, similar to what was shared in your link. And then the focus areas, and we ended up, there ended up being 14 categorized focus areas after the review process of the submitted focus areas. So the applicants were able to write in what their focus was, and then staff went through an exercise to kind of consolidate that to those 14 in alignment with the previous exercise with the first selection committee. Sorry, I didn't have that number as you were looking for it earlier. It came to me in a text. So we have the ability to look at the 91 applicants here. Tom has his hand raised. And we have the ability to kind of look at different compositions of this makeup. So Tom, do you have a question?
Yeah, just will this interact?
You just muted yourself, or you're now muted. I'm not sure why.
I'm not, you hear me now, huh?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Tried unmuting from this side. It didn't seem to work. Are we going to have this available to us, this interactive version of the database?
We're looking at keeping this available in the committee meeting interface, so that just that there won't be any kind of confusion in how to utilize it. So you can ask us questions that you like, and we'll present that information for you.
I see. Okay. Yeah, because what we received previously, or what we have, is static and doesn't include applicant IDs, whatever it is, 92 through 120 or whatever
Correct.
It might be.
And those reflect the current CAC members.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I got that.
Okay.
But that's also information I think that we want to have in front of us, so that as we attempt to diversify thought and location and all that, we don't end up just piling on to what we already have.
Understood. So are there any questions, Caroline?
Not about this information, about it generally, but
Okay.
not about this. So.
Okay. We have the ability to go in and check out the jurisdictional breakdown of these applicants. Also, we can pull in ward or board of supervisor boundaries if there's interest in looking at those breakdowns as well.
Well, I guess I'll bring this one up now. What I heard at the meeting was that it was less important on jurisdictional boundaries, but kind of areas, except for 3, which was there's nobody from South Tucson, Pasquayaki, or Tohono and it looks like there weren't any applications from those areas. So I don't know how, I guess we would just need to ignore it since there aren't any, right?
Correct.
Or any, I didn't look like in the work zip codes there were any of those either. But other than.
You did have one applicant, at least that I noticed, and there may be others from Avra Valley. So that's, at least geographically close to PY, I guess, and TO.
So that actually brings up a good question. So we do have, Josh, I believe you have the capability to show where the gap areas are, right?
Yes, we can show the number, the applicants. There's 15 applicants that fall outside of the buffer areas. You can see the kind of the makeup of that group down here with the jurisdictional summaries. And that gives us 15 applicants that fall outside of that 4-mile buffer. So yeah, these are the darker blue dots. The jurisdictional buffer is this guy that I'm going to turn on and off here. Make it a lighter blue so those blue dots applicants jump out. So as part of this exercise, if you're interested in looking at these individuals that are falling outside of those buffered areas, along with the current applicants, we can see that the composition of that group has 10 from Tucson. So the dark blue are the current applicants, the light blue are the current members, and the light blue are the subset of 91 applicants that fall outside of the buffer areas.
And the buffer areas are determined, the center of each buffer area is determined by what exactly?
The home address of the current 22 CAC members.
All right, so the colored light blue dots now are just applicants who are over 4 miles distant from a current CAC member.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm not sure how important that is myself. I mean, maybe we don't want next door neighbors, but I'm also just not so sure why 4.1 miles makes them any more or less desirable, I guess, to be on the committee than someone else. However, in the case of maybe the southernmost one, just to the right of your and below your, no, keep going. Yeah, that one there. That's kind of an intermediate area, and that's not part of the TO. Okay.
TO, the San Javier district is this lighter tan.
Okay.
So this is Salarita Road.
Got it.
Okay.
So that's near the prison, maybe?
Prison would be up here. So.
Oh, okay. Now my geography is poor today, but in any case,
just south of the city of Tucson jurisdictional boundary.
So maybe the summit area.
In unincorporated Pima County.
Yeah.
I believe this is Wilmot coming in here. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm kind of interested in is, the city of Tucson, I guess we have maybe 19 members or potential slots for the city of Tucson.
18.
18?
Yeah.
That's on 19 or something. I don't,
It
give or
says
take,
19.
a few. But I'd like to see if there's any, do you have any of the ward information?
Yes,
We can take a look at it, see how many.
certainly. So we currently have 9 Tucson members. And so I'm going to switch over to look at the applicants, the group of applicants that
Mhm.
are within the city of Tucson. Sure. So within the city of Tucson, there are 51 applicants. And I can display the boundaries here, but I will read to you numbers that I got for the wards here. 1 second, this gets a little messy with both sets of lines on. Okay, so for city of Tucson, ward distribution, would you like to hear the current membership ward distribution?
Sure.
So Ward 1, so there's of the 22 current members, 1 current member lives in Ward 1, 2 live in Ward 2, 1 lives in Ward 3, 0 live in Ward 4, 4 and 5, I'm sorry, and then 5 live in Ward 6.
Wait, 0 live in 4 or 5, did you say?
4 and 5, I'm sorry, yes,
4 and
that's
5 are
correct.
0.
Correct.
And 6 is what?
5. And so, and then 13 the current members live outside of the city boundaries.
Show us which ones are 4 and 5.
Yeah, I have this here. So 4 is this this eastern ward, and then 5 is comes in through here and then and goes up to this portion. So this section here around the airport, and then drops down south of the airport and around in these little pockets as well.
So how many applicants do we have then in each of the wards?
4. Do you want me to step through all 6? Okay.
Yeah.
So of the applicants, we have 12 in Ward 1. 12. We have 5 from Ward 2. We have 9 from Ward 3. We have 1 from Ward 4. We have 6 from Ward 5 and 18 from Ward 6.
Yay, for Ward 6. We
Go
win.
6.
Yeah. And so for Ward 4, this would be the applicant.
Number 84, is that right? Number
Pardon?
80, that's applicant number 84.
Correct.
Okay.
So what it says.
And the focus areas are pavement maintenance, accessibility, and those are they filled out 2 focus areas of the 3. So they didn't fill out information on the 3rd focus area. And then Ward 5, let's go find these 6 people. Here's one applicant in Ward 5.
Number 6.
Applicant ID 6. Category focus area 1 is other. Category focus area 2 is accessibility. And focus area 3 is other. There was a staff exercise to take the open text submittals of what an individual's focus area was and try to group them into manageable groups, and in particular align it with the current exercise. And so there were a handful that in the original exercise, there was just a few that fell into other. With this more recent round, there was a little bit more that fell into other, but looking to keep consistent. So in your materials, you have the applicant's original submittal and then the categorized submittal. So if you're to look at 6 and you see that column, that first column, focus area 1, you can see what their submittal was, but when it was categorized, there wasn't a category that aligned with that well. So it was placed into other.
Okay, I'm not sure what you mean. So rural transportation is what this person said,
Correct.
and other, because I thought it was like they would say this and then where you fit them in.
Correct.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
what he's saying.
What they say, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And so from the first exercise, there essentially wasn't a big enough group of applicants that expressed that focus. So that kind of fell into another
Okay,
category.
That is correct. We grouped them into the same 8 focus group areas that we did the first time around, just for consistency.
yes.
And
Got it.
anything else that did not fit was put into the other category for now.
For now, I can't find it now, but the one that was about I think it was distracted driving and then drunk driving and then eating while driving or something like that. Would all those be other? I don't know. I can't find it right now.
Okay.
Safety, probably.
It would probably be put into.
Safety.
Well, yeah,
Okay,
that
yes.
would
So
be
that
my,
something like that fell into
Yeah.
safety. Okay, I didn't know how to think.
so that's a little kind of orientation on that that process and the information that's shared with you. I'll step through, we'll track down the rest of, so we've looked at one applicant rather, from Ward 5. There are 6 in total. This is the most southern. There's no other representation in Ward 5. The rest south of that applicant, the rest are closer into town. And so as we look in, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other applicants that are in Ward 5. So it kind of shows you their makeup, their distribution rather.
Wow.
Would you be interested in having me step through each one of these? I'll go from west to east.
Let me ask a question of the rest of the committee. Although it didn't make it into the motion, do we have a sense that that we should worry about the wards? I mean, to the extent that if there ends up being 18, that there should be 3 from each ward, and that means number 6 already has 5. So that could be an issue, but, and we can only get 1 apparently from 4, but is there a desire that there be some balance therein?
There should be some balance. It's just a matter of how do you do that, and just look at the map. I mean, basically everybody's like, the vast majority of all the people that are located there are north of, 22nd, I guess.
Yeah, that's correct.
Well,
There's big, huge gaps in the south, on the south side of Tucson.
Yeah.
I know we have, the applicants are the applicants. And I certainly feel that there must be some kind of a recruitment issue that we have when that PAG has and RTA when trying to attract recruits from different areas. I don't know what the answer to that is, but there should be a much broader distribution geographically. Geographically can be answered, I think, but yeah, I just don't know how to address something like this.
Yeah, could we filter for location of work? Just to kind of get an idea of what it looks like as far as South Side type folks.
Yeah, before you do that, Tom, I'll answer your question from my, with my opinion, and that is that as far as the general geographic areas that, throughout the region, I think you've got the RTA staff and chairs did a really good job the first time around. And I think that from what I understand and what I believe, that we were already pretty well represented by region. And that's only 25% of the 4 categories. And I think, in my opinion, we should be looking at the other 3 categories first and then see how people come out in diversity of thought, economic representation, and demographic representation, and then see how it looks if we narrow it down to like half of, or however, wherever we want to narrow it down to, like 40 or something. And I'll bet you it would still come out. It wasn't in the package, so I was wondering how, if you're gonna go over there, how you either have come to, or how we can come to economic representation and demographic representation, because that's not included here. And then the diversity of thought, what Paki was saying was, depending on what they say their interest areas are, from what I heard at the board meeting and what you said, Mayor, was like what kind of transportation users they are. And unless they said that, because a few of them did, I ride the bike or I ride the bus, or I just say, we don't know. And I assume that what you put here in the narrative was the whole application, everything they said in the application, or is this just a subset of it?
It's what they wrote minus any personal information that defined who they were. So if for example, they were the president of the United States, we removed that so that you wouldn't know who it was.
But you asked about committees they were on, like what?
Yeah,
type?
if they said we're on this committee, then they asked. But if they specified that they're the president or that they're
Of a neighborhood association?
Yeah, we removed
right?
that. But we left all of their affiliations and all of their transportation priorities.
All their affiliations. So this is
Or I mean, they're whatever, if they were affiliated to a
Very
committee.
specific.
Yeah.
okay. Anyway, I think that's what I think. I think we need to look at the other 3 since this is one, and I think you said they're not prioritized. So we don't have very much information.
I'm kind of surprised, at the distribution in the sense of, who applies, basically. But I know that I think I mentioned in the past, that we should look at neighborhood associations. Tucson has many. I don't know what it is, 50 or something like that.
I think there's more than 100.
It's a bunch. Yeah, it's a bunch. And I think a lot of those people are, very interested in issues. Obviously, they're very happy now that some of those South Side streets got repaved. They're wonderful. I mean, it's something that I, as old as I am, had never seen them paved. And like, I went to high school and the streets looked the same way they were at that time. And so I really commend Mayor Romero for what she's done down there. And I'm sure that, just if you think of there's already people down there with economic issues. So now and all this time they've been driving down these really bad roads. So who knows how much money they've spent trying to keep their cars running or having to fix them and things like that. It's just a great thing to see from my end of the town. Where it's just, wow, we're in the city of Tucson, so it's our streets, I can say, are probably better than South Tucson. I mean, than the city of Tucson. And if for no other reason than maybe ours are newer to start with, some of those other streets are way, way over. So, and I just, don't see that distribution, like I said. The reason I mentioned, I think the neighborhood associations is that because there's many of them, there's a lot of activity on it. My concern in something like that is that usually they only meet once a month. And so if we sent that, I forget how long was the application out there for? Assuming they received it and well, the month is probably already passed, or something, or just, so there might be some changes that we need to do there, to make it fit our goals as to, more inclusivity, diversity. Something is not being addressed, I think, right now by the way we recruit.
Mayor, I just want to answer your question. The call for applications lasted 4 weeks.
It's 4 weeks
Yes, it was 4 weeks.
from the day that it's announced. What was fine. And if the information doesn't get spread, and I don't know who did, you do mailings to, you said, I think you said that you contacted.
It was
neighbors.
PAG distributed via email to PAG's large extensive distribution list,
Mhm.
which is organizations and contacts all over and committee members all over the region.
Mhm.
In addition, the call for applications was posted to the PAG RTA website.
Right,
For
right.
people that can go in.
Do they get sent like to the wards, to the jurisdictions
Yes, and anyone,
directly? I mean, to the, say, the city manager. or something.
anyone that's on the PAG distribution list,
Mhm.
it was emailed to those. And typically the wards and the districts have been
Yeah,
on our
right.
distribution list.
So I don't know, without talking to these people, board members or the board council members, about what they do with that kind of information, how they distribute it from their offices, the turnaround time and all that is a 4-week period sufficient. I can speak for South Tucson, and it's difficult. We meet, say, our council meets usually maybe twice a month, and so if you miss. If you miss one of the weeks, or there went a month, right? One of the council sessions, if you didn't bring it up at the council session during that period, well, again, you're probably doing the same thing. And we have a very lean staffing when it comes to this kind of thing. So we may not, even if we saw it, there's so many other things going on that it may just be not ignored. I think people would be interested in doing that kind of thing, but then that means going out to individual people out there, because we don't have our communications between people in the city is not that good. We don't even have a newsletter right now. So we can't afford it. Each mailing is something like $400-500 for us, and that's about money.
Yes, a lot of money for you.
Yeah.
When we were talking about this earlier during our telephone calls, I thought we had spoken about it. Maybe we didn't all agree, but that there was some conversation about making sure that the city contacted all the HOAs on their master list. Do we know if that happened, or if they followed through, or if we did to make sure that they could add that mailing list to the PAG mailing list?
So Tom, we already have all the HOAs on our mailing list. So all the HOAs that are formally active receive the information. In addition to that, we requested all jurisdictional regional council members to distribute among their own elected officials and their own distribution list. And I had definitely verified that most of them have done that. We've seen distributions from a lot of stakeholders on their own, HOAs included, that they had sent out to their own distribution list. So I think we had a good, really support from all of our stakeholders to get the information out. I know we've received confirmation from some of the chambers and some of the other organizations that reached out to their members and encouraged people to apply.
Thank you.
You said they went, it wasn't just to the city ward office or whatever, it was to the neighborhood associations directly in the city of Tucson. Is that what you said?
On the PAG list, we have all the official active neighborhood associations. But in addition to that, we have all the ward offices. And our request was for them to continue and distribute to all their own network as well.
Good, yeah, and I will say, I told Paki at one of our meetings that I'm in Ward 6, yay, Ward 6. That our neighborhood association president got it and sent it around to the whole, because most people they don't just send it out by mail, they have email lists now, but I wasn't sure if that was directly to us. So it depends on the president probably, if they were going to share it, and I would, hopefully most of them would have.
So that was our request. So when we send it out, we request for all recipients to share with their network. And we appreciate, I believe most people that we interact with on a regular basis did that.
Well, even if we don't get actual candidates from, especially the South Side, I think it would be incumbent upon us to do some due diligence to find out why we don't have interest. Is it lack of transportation? Is it lack of feeling that their voice will be listened to? I mean, I think if we're going to turn back to, Tucson mayor and say, we've done our due diligence to try to get every piece and corner of Tucson represented. I think we need to find out why we're not getting any candidates from that area. What is it? What's holding them back from putting in an application?
I agree with Mary. I think there's something is not something's not working, and I don't know. Maybe it's maybe this is the kind of thing that should be advertised on television, or get some of the Spanish stations or something like that involved. And let them know that that the recruitment process is coming up. You have this month of September or something on there to submit your applications and maybe delivered by say Mayor Romero or other people on there trying to maybe the ward council person, something needs to be done, to get more people involved. I think that I really think that the recruitment part is very important.
And even if we don't end up actually recruiting people, just the knowledge and the information in that process it's educating the community of who and what we are and what we're trying to achieve. So the end goal is to get more people from these areas. But if that's just not going to happen because there's too many roadblocks to that, at least getting out to talk, figure out why are we not getting applicants, and in that process help the community be knowledgeable about who we are, what we are, why it's important to them to have that voice on the CAC.
Right. I think, when I was on the neighborhood association at the fairgrounds at the area, which is basically from between Napo and Irvington, and on the west side of 6th Avenue to Park, and east side, excuse me, the east side of 6th Avenue to Park. And I was on there for about 7 years, and I know the city was always, we were always tied into some member of the police department. You know, they were always, present at all the at the neighborhood associations, and other people from, different departments, they would always show up. And I think that might be something, that PAG might need to do, is get people to on staff, that could go out and speak to what PAG is doing, RTA is doing, and let them know, what it is about, educate them. And I think the neighborhood associations would be one tremendous place to start at. Have a group of people that just goes and meets with the different committees. I mean, neighborhood associations. Even if it's there's so many of them. So that could be a pretty awesome figure in terms of getting people out there to do that, or to send packets continuously, letting them know what's going on. Be more proactive, basically, all the way around.
Yeah, well, I hope we do that. That's the plan. And we did it last time too. And there are a lot of associations. So we're all going to take, a list of however many and do it when hopefully all throughout the process as we're going there. Right now, I think the board asked us to finish this and get our next 13, is it, to them by January 1st. And that's like that time is closed. So again, I would just say, I think you did okay, but Mary, we never get enough interest in any committee. I've been on a million of them, and it's very selective who has time or who even hears about it. I don't know how much we can do about that, and certainly not at this stage of the game, but I think you're right. We need to get more input as we go, regardless of whether people are on the committee or the technical committee or the whatever people are doing. But Tom, did you still want to go to the work addresses? I would like to get some of the other focus areas or whatever it's called.
Well, yeah, I was just curious to see whether that gives us any indication that we have a little better coverage than we thought of some of that southwest side, if you will.
So here are the yellow dots. Here are the work addresses of the applicants. So there's a little bit more coverage in these areas. So
yeah, near south side is better, a little better covered there anyway. What are those two dots that are just outside of Dion? Yeah, that one
here.
No, I meant beyond that. Yeah, that one.
Okay, 71, applicant ID 71, or I'm sorry, 74.
Okay.
Focus area being transit, focus area 2 being bike ped facilities, and then environmental stewardship. And then this one that's a little further south, applicant ID 67. And so the home jurisdiction for this individual is in Marana for applicant ID 67, and the home jurisdiction for applicant ID 74 is in Tucson.
Yeah. I actually had both of them as potential shortlisters, just based on what I read about them.
So essentially the 4 columns that we have about the individual applicants are restricted in this view, but you all have more detailed information Tom, as you mentioned, if we wanted to look at across a focus area for, for safety or transit, we can look at what that group looks like. Recognizing that the geographic component is one of the four. The diversity of thought is kind of the other component. That we have information on in this interface. So I don't know if we want to step through that exercise or recognizing.
I do.
Okay. In looking at those, is there a particular focus area that you would want to consider? So we have accessibility being important, the top focus area for these highlighted 4 applicants. Bike ped does come up for here. Actually, let me. Maybe.
Before you do that, could I just ask a quick question? Have you done a combination of 1, 2, and 3? In other words, if it showed up at all, what's the scattergram look like for if it showed up as any of the categories for someone? So that we can see what I'm looking at is, I wonder if we have maybe close to 75% of the people who said that transit was important, either an area 1, 2, or 3. Because I think for me, that's really important to kind of understand which are the most important categories for the group as a whole, and use that a little bit as how we're filling in gaps.
I don't have that at my fingertips. You could see me step through it in the meeting. We could go and look at that, but that's something we can kind of provide back as a report. So you can kind of look at it that way. It seems like that would you probably want to have that across the board for the current members and applicants.
Yes.
Where there may be.
Well, we have that for the current applicants, don't we? It wasn't in the packet about which focus areas 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
But I would like to see it the opposite way for the current members. Actually, I don't know if we probably have that somewhere, but I couldn't find it. Is that what you're talking about?
Well,
or did I miss
Tom, I believe my interpretation of Tom's request was across the board. If someone chose transit, either focus area 1, 2, or 3, tally that. And so this is an expression of that. Across the 91 applicants, 29 selected transit, either in focus area 1, 2, or 3. I just don't have a graphic for that.
Yes.
So even though there's 29 all across the board,
We don't know.
15 said that was their focus area 1. And then another 15.
That doesn't add up.
You don't have to try to do it.
We will have to look into that, won't we, Frank?
Yeah.
Well, Aki, do we have that for the current members? Which ones picked, like, say, transit or accessibility or whatever as 1, and who picked them as 2, and who picked it as 3?
Yeah, I believe.
Because what was in this packet was just the
Yeah, it was in the
total,
previous-
like they were
yeah.
treating them all separately if somebody said it 1, 2, 3, right? Okay, yeah, I'd like to get that one too.
Okay. And so, we do have that. So for the current members, again, it would be better to produce this report for you, but 9 of the 22 listed transit either is 1, 2, or 3. So we'll and we can kind of look at that against the current applicants as well, or the applicants.
I think just a report on it would satisfy me.
Okay, all right.
Can you go back just because I think you're doing it in alphabetical order for accessibility? It's had what you put it under, but I was wondering if what they said was accessibility all, it mean the same thing to everybody? Because
That's,
there were some things like land use or things that I didn't understand what was accessibility, because I have accessibility mean.
that's a challenge for having open-ended survey questions, that you don't want to restrict people to align them to an answer, but you want them to be open and accommodate anything. So so that's why there was kind of two staff that reviewed it and kind of came to consensus on what the appropriate categorization is. It's not an exact, it's more of an art than a science.
Well, can you just show us, like, there was only 4 of them, but I'm interested.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we can do that. So that's just, that's going to be 11.
No, not which ones they were. What was their
I don't-
focus, what they said? It was
So the response isn't available in this view. So you can look at your spreadsheet, that
cool.
hard copy for 11 applicant ID.
Okay, wait, 11?
And it's also in this printout too. If that
Yeah.
They
makes
said
work.
connectivity is what 11 said.
This connectivity. Gotcha. Okay, yeah, so it could mean, I
Yeah.
don't know what it
And then
means. Okay.
29 was the second applicant.
Easy access road systems.
And then
The access road system. Okay, that's road access. Okay.
61 was the third applicant.
Says regional connectivity.
Okay. So none of this had anything to do with ADA kind of stuff, it sounds like.
Right.
And then 91 was the last one.
91?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Accessibility. So,
okay.
so they knew what they meant anyway.
Okay.
And so I do know that, in terms of like ADA, that would likely fall in the bike ped facilities. If someone had ADA concerns or ADA issues, that would likely be categorized in a bike ped facility grouping.
Okay. You mean from what they said in their narrative, you mean?
Yes, if there was if someone submitted, I'm interested in improving ADA features, that would likely be categorized as in this category, bike ped.
Thank you.
So I believe I've answered the questions on the table. I'm not sure the next move. Anybody have other questions? We need to provide a report. Is there anything else? Any other questions we can help answer right now, or to support your exercise?
Well, I will say again, I don't think you can, but the economic representation and the demographic representation, we don't have that, right? At this point?
That's correct.
So is that going to be the volunteer information that, or requests that we can send out? Tom, was that something you were talking about? Getting it out to all the applicants, or maybe all of them or some of them?
Yeah, it was. I wasn't sure in my own head who I wanted to ask, but at the very least, the shortlisted people, if not just all 91, to voluntarily answer some of those questions that get at what the board was looking for us to consider, at least when we make our recommendation. It's like, I mean, we don't even know how many of these applicants may be female, as an example.
Right.
Or we don't know ethnicity, and we certainly don't know their background of economic situation either.
Thank you, Tom. Any of the information that we don't have today, it's up to this committee to determine next steps on how you want to gather that information.
Yeah, I would think we could, did we ask for email addresses or anything, or it would just be another, I would just do it online, or how do we get to people that applied?
Applicants either provided email addresses or phone numbers, I believe both. Email addresses.
So that there would be a way to be in touch with them.
Okay. Well, I would like to see it of all 91. Does that mean we need a motion or something?
agree.
Yeah, or just a consensus?
So,
Yeah, I would like to see them all also.
so you're requesting demographic information of all 91 applicants.
Yeah, and one of the things that came up in the memo is probably from the mayor of Tucson, which was about asking them for their transportation, not what they want to see worked on, but what their transportation are using, what they're
Current
using now.
uses.
And what is it, economic, does that mean we ask for people's, like, how much they make, or?
So let me see if I can make sure we're clear on what we're hoping to do. So our goal is to answer at least the economic diversity question. That one hopefully would be relatively easy, and we could provide a range of income that is aligned with typically when we do the community survey through the census process. So we could utilize that same format and voluntarily request individuals to answer that question. So it's it's income range for the family. So that one should be relatively easy. The demographic one, again, it has to be voluntarily provided, but that's where we get into our concern that cannot be used as a criteria. So I think that's the more challenging one. And based on experience, we've seen that people typically don't answer a lot of those questions because it's voluntarily provided. So I'm not sure if that's going to really help with your discussion, but we could ask the question and then decide what to do at that time.
And gender, since we don't have any names or anything here, I mean, we can the members look at the applications themselves, just not in a public, I mean, we could still use the numbers as we identify them in public meetings, but can we have access to the applications themselves as committee members for the selection committee?
Yeah, again, so we're getting into, being able to make a decision without regard to those class information. So I think that's definitely something we want to be very cautious about. Diversity is definitely our goal. We want to achieve diversity. So I would be more comfortable with asking the applicants, and then once we get their response, then decide how we want to use that information moving forward.
Which is race and income and gender
And age.
and age. Yeah, and age.
Yes. So again, those are things that we cannot use as a criteria. So we want to be very cautious. Is that information something that you're going to use as a criteria to make a decision? And if that's the case, then obviously we do not want to be having that as a criteria.
Well, we do want to know, though, at some point before we impanel a new group, whether we've, what we've been even dealing with. I mean,
yes. So that goes back to your suggestion. Once you have a short list, then that would be probably a fruitful exercise to see if you were able to create a balance at that time.
We're talking about doing it now for the 91. And we're not saying we're making a decision. Matter of fact, we don't even make a decision, but the board has asked us to look at that. So I think we should do it for all 91. And get that information, especially since we don't have access to the whole packet and we're making a recommendation on the next committee members. So that would be what I would suggest, because if it looks anything like our current committee, a lot of people won't answer it, but we'll have a better sense of it.
I'm a little bit on the fence with it. I hate to waste a lot of time by accidentally picking a bunch of people that look like me, which would just make everyone mad. If we can at least get an idea of what's the pool we're dealing with now. Is it all a bunch of old white guys that live in the foothills? I mean, obviously we know they don't all live in the foothills from where they're shown, but are they all bike riders that live in downtown Tucson, or in the center city? So just understanding, what the demographics are of the larger group we have, but for sure, the demographics of, whatever our first cut looks like, or, our first short list, if you will.
I appreciate your statement, Tom. More important to me than whether or not they're, white guys or what have you, is I think their chosen or preferred modality of transportation speaks a lot. And I think that's where, we can't do anything about ethnicity. We can't do anything about gender, but I think we can, I hope, ask and find out what is their preferred personal or professional use of modality in their daily lives, because that's where perhaps the distinction can lie, as far as what do they value, and therefore how, along with all the application pieces that they added to the application. But I think that's the one thing that I feel is missing is, what are their personal, professional transportation lie?
Good point.
I was, one of the things I've been thinking of, and I'm not sure what everybody else feels like, but I think we need information on things like labor force and industries, who's being represented on the board, on the committee, what's their, are they really professional people only, and we don't have the basic labor forces down there, that's they're carrying the load of the labor, and in the area, what industries, is it, are they working with utility companies? Are they working with for banks? Are they working for the mines? Whatever it is, it's just I think it would be good information to have, just to see how the committee is composed, and work from there and look for gaps in there. Make sure that we try and get everybody as best possible to be diverse again. Even in that sense, it doesn't have to be necessarily who wrecks at the mines. It's kind of like, the mines are fairly low-level employers in terms of the workforce that they have. Everything over there is, giant tractors, and one person sits in the tractor and drives around all day long, type of a thing, dumping the ore into some bigger tractor that's going to get onto a train somewhere. But it's not a real, it's not like construction, where you have a huge labor force in construction. But something along those lines might be something that might be worthwhile investigating, and of course might also improve the chances of, I think, getting more diversity into the system without necessarily identifying people as being Hispanic or any kind of race, but different types of races. But that might be hitting the point a little bit more in a
We do have,
in a spread out area, where we know something about this person and where he work, where or how he works. That type of information could be very meaningful.
thank you, Mayor. You have access to employer information.
Yeah, one of the questions was the name of the employer and their address. So what's displayed here in the yellow are the locations. Well, what we're displaying here in blue are the current home locations of the current members, and the yellow, the beige dots are the employer locations. And so while we're not really presenting much detail on that in this interface, we did look at that, and we kind of grouped it into clusters where of the 22 current members, we had 7 that fell within business services. And so that business services represent offices of lawyers, offices of CPAs, and engineering firms. We have 1 in construction. So 1 individual working in the construction field, 2 in education. So that is 2 individuals involved in its colleges and universities. So that particular group was not K-12. 1 individual in finance, insurance, and real estate. And then 4 individuals employed in government, social, and advocacy services.
How many was that? I'm sorry.
4.
So that includes government and nonprofit?
Correct.
Okay.
And then 1 individual in transportation and distribution.
How many were in real estate?
The finance, insurance, and real estate, there was 1 individual.
So the rest are all retired or
Correct.
unemployed? How many are retired?
Yeah, exactly.
I believe that adds up to 13.
Ooh-wee.
And that's 13 out of 22?
Yeah,
13 out of,
Let me redo that math.
yeah.
14, 15,
16. So no, that would be 7. I'm sorry. 13 was outside of the city. Sorry.
They're older than us, Tom.
Didn't think that was possible, but I guess it is.
Or maybe we're working too long.
So 7. I'm sorry.
Well, so if you have self-employed, do you have that as a category?
Pardon? If they reported it.
I see.
Excuse me, what was the last comment?
If self-employed, if they reported it, but we were able to lean on the employer names and group them into those clusters.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Also helpful is I'm looking online, the background. Some people chose not to put anything in their background, but for those who did put something in their background, it kind of gives you a indication as to whether or not, whether or not they've been in an industry or worked in an industry or have interest in an industry other than, the professional white collar industry that maybe we have enough of those in our CAC already. I don't know. But if you take that, then also plus the interest, it gives you to me, it gives you a really clear picture about who the committee, what this person is what their area of interest is, their background, and then the zip code that they live in can be helpful as far as, is this a good representation that perhaps we don't have on the committee? And I just wish some of these that had not put anything in background had put something in, because some of these might be student, U of A student level, based on what I'm seeing here. And
Yeah, like number 42 is a good example. I had the same comment.
yeah,
Does people actually not put their background, or did you take it out because it was like too personal?
No, nothing that is blank was left blank because of us.
Okay.
Yeah, there were several applicants that chose to leave some of those questions blank.
mhm. Yeah, 42 is a great example of what I was saying.
Yeah. Good. I didn't see Pierce, Arizona on there, or Brattleboro, Vermont on your list. There's some people that worked far away, but it's not on there. Did you just leave the people off that are from out of town that apparently work remotely?
Some guy lives in
There's a
Texas.
couple that go to, no, the Pierce guy goes back and forth. And I don't know if there's anybody.
So I believe, that the breakdown that I gave you was for the current members. We haven't stepped through that breakdown for the 91 applicants.
Okay.
And then, and that's a good point. I believe we have the Arizona addresses geocoded
Oh, I see.
for the work locations, but I mean,
This is the new ones or us?
these are the applicants.
Okay.
So
Cool.
we have the applicants
Oh, I see.
selected. We might have the other ones that are further afield.
Yeah, you don't
as
need to show
geocoded
yours.
as well, but I know we do have the Arizona ones.
Okay.
So the exercise that Paki hopefully will go over was to really on your own individually to look at all these parameters and the criteria that was approved by the board, and then hopefully be able to on your own identify the number of candidates that you believe meet those criteria. So we still hope that you can do that, and potentially if we need to go further, then we can continue that conversation too.
Yeah, well, I think we've been spending a lot of time on the geographic stuff, and I think it's not the most important from what I heard. I mean, they just said generally try to stay within that. Those 3 jurisdictions were recommended to try that, but I think we need to get all 4, the criteria information for all 4 before we can be looking at it. So hopefully we can get that soon.
I think that it might be good to look at, if possible, maybe look at the working titles or something like that as well. I think that might be kind of useful information. So you have the titles, you might be able to put them into, different groupings in as to whether they're administrators, whether they're first line workers, that kind of thing.
Yeah, some of that information was removed only because
Supervisors.
it made it very obvious. It could become very, very obvious who they were. So we were just trying to be careful to not make it very obvious who anyone was.
So you're talking about to the public or to the committee that's selecting people?
Both. You're both seeing the same thing.
So the clustering exercise that Josh was talking about, and that's something that's definitely very helpful. We can cluster those employment types. I think that would help you a little bit. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we'll probably use the community survey ranges for income families, so that's a voluntarily provided information that we can ask for. And again, as I mentioned earlier, definitely it's all volunteer. So we hope that they would answer as many questions as we provide them to. And so that should take care of the economic diversity and the demographic diversity. And I think you have the information for the other 2 categories already. So we hope that they would be able to answer those questions.
Well, and I think one of the things, and I agree, Mayor, it's very common that people say, what industry do you work in or whatever, you know, I mean, they've got those categorized, or sounds like you have a category, but the one about their type of transportation they use is a simple question to add. And then I think we'll have all of it, because that and their focus areas talk together talk to the diversity of thought.
Yeah, I agree. We can, again, I believe most of them have already done that. If you look at some of their responses, it's already there. And obviously we can ask again.
So Paki, I think I saw that the next meeting is the 2nd of December. And today is the 15th of November. I don't know if we can get that kind of information back by, it's 2 weeks. Because I mean, we want to get somewhere. You only want, hopefully have 3 meetings, and then we have the holidays, of course.
Well, I think we should keep working individually to come up with the short list, as Paki has kind of laid out the process, and as soon as that information is available to us, then let us have it. But I think we should continue moving forward, studying these applications such as they exist. But it would sure be helpful to me, I think, if Josh, we were given access to this interactive version of the database.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the concern is on your ability to navigate it, and we don't want there to be any frustration or confusion in utilizing it.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I got younger people that can help.
Trust me. Never read that before.
Josh, you're worried that we're gonna pull data that may appear, that has the appearance of being what we want, but because we're not doing it correctly, it gives us false information. Is that what you're concerned about?
Correct.
Okay.
Or are you more concerned about getting 50 calls a day from us?
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
The GIS is can be very creative, and I worked in that for about 15 years in California, and that was, once people latch onto you, then they want to, they'll be asking for all kinds of stuff.
Well, one of the reasons we set up this meeting for 2 hours is right now we still have more than a half hour left to navigate through this so that Josh can pull up the information that you need. As you know, from the little exercise, I kind of assigned all of you for this Thursday to have your top 20, based on the questions that you asked today, and based on the preview that you've been able to do prior to the meeting. So
this Thursday, what's today? Tuesday, Monday? So if we all have different top 20s, because I haven't actually gone through all of them yet, but I'm almost there. And I got some good ones, but I don't think it's fair to these people when we are supposed to be looking at this other criteria that I don't have yet. So I can give you my favorites just based on, and sounds like Tom's been doing that too. I don't know about you, Mayor Testo, but I just don't know how to resolve that.
I kind of have my short list.
So it might be, again, just another fruitful exercise, obviously just to compare your list. If you all see an area that majority of you agree with, hopefully that helps narrow down the conversation. So it's just yet another exercise to come up with your list on your own, and then let's compare it.
And then it gets to 91 with our lists.
what was that?
So it could get to 91 with all of our lists, and they're all over the board.
Yeah.
Probably not quite, but it could be a lot.
That would be telling by itself if that happens, obviously.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that you can reach consensus, and we have confidence that, I think based on the conversation we had today, you should all be able to narrow it down to some degree to be able to look where the areas of common agreements are.
Yeah, again, it's just, I'm guessing it's some of the demographics and economic, but that's not fair to the people because it's like in a vacuum without the information that we're supposed to be looking at. It's really tough to come up with a short list. I almost don't want to do it. I could take people off of here, but I don't know if I can do
Yeah,
it.
no, we're not,
Yeah,
not
I'm back
suggesting,
on.
we're not suggesting to eliminate anybody from consideration at this point. It's just an exercise to see where the
Yeah.
5 members hopefully have agreements.
No one will be removed.
I wonder if it's possible, this grid, I guess you'd call it, that we have in front of us here, is it possible to drop this information into a spreadsheet? So that, for instance, if I want to rearrange it by jurisdiction, I can do that. Or if I want to rearrange it by category for focus area, I could do that.
Sure.
could have-
Yeah, if
what it
you're
is.
comfortable using a spreadsheet, that's definitely doable. We just thought a database was just as easy, but we'll be happy to convert it to a spreadsheet. It's the same information you already have, but obviously you can utilize it for your own benefit.
The only thing that's not going to give us is the geocoding on the.
The mapping, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
You, Mary, can you, or whoever has it open right now, you should be able to click on the top
Yeah.
field, and that should sort it for you of
It
each
does.
column. Okay, great.
Oh, okay, I see the little arrows. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Hey, Josh, could you pull up for us everyone that listed maintenance as one of their 3 focus areas on the applicants?
That's an M, sorry. So we have 23 applicants of the 91. So that search term, that will search across the whole grid. So,
Okay,
so that'll look across all of the columns.
great.
We have 23 of the 91 that have maintenance listed at least once as a focus area.
Great, thank you.
And all searches can be done this way because, as you remember, the focus areas were not to be listed in order of importance. It was just 3 focus areas, up to 3 focus areas. So this is what.
Yeah, that was my point in trying to get them consolidated if we could.
I think for me, I think I have what I need to do a good review, initial review, and then when I come up with probably more than we need, but my initial list, that's when I think turning to the mapping would really help to see, okay, these are the people that on the face of it, I feel are good candidates. Now let's see where they show up on the map. Is that possible to work through that somehow?
Yeah, again, our hope is that you would do that at the meeting and we'll pull it up, and this way everybody benefits from that conversation as well.
Okay. So that's our next 2 meetings.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
So Mary and Tom and Maritessa, do you want to try to set a number for what we're going to narrow down our top 40 or 50 or 30 or?
Well, we had requested top 20 by the age.
Oh, you already did that?
Yeah, I already
Oh.
sent an email last week, or I don't know when,
Missed that, I guess.
requesting top 20, just to get it started. Again, nobody's going to
20.
be eliminated or removed. This is just to get an idea.
Okay, 20.
Have
That's very many.
our top 20 and then maybe 10 more in reserves so that if there's something, for instance, you and Tom, a number you and Tom feel is really strong, I can look and see if, oh, okay, well, that was one of my reserve numbers. So.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, or we
Let's do
could do it like the priority areas, 1, 2, and 3, or something like that.
Okay.
20, 20,
That
20.
works.
Yeah, okay.
And we want these by our next meeting?
No, by this Thursday.
Moving fast, Mary.
Oh,
That will allow our staff also to be able to provide additional information for the December 2nd meeting.
I guess I better check my calendar, huh?
But then the criteria, the information will be back, hopefully at least a bunch of it by December 2nd as well. Because I don't want to go too far into this without having the criteria we've been asked to consider it not being there. I didn't hear you if you thought it would be, if that was a reasonable time frame.
I think, and Farhad, may need your assistance with this. Do we need to have some sort of a motion, or do we?
No, again, our goal is to put the request out to the 91 applicants and give them a due date to respond to by. And
Okay.
I think we have enough time to do that, probably give them a few days to respond. So we should be able to have it prior to the next meeting.
Cool. Okay, then what I'll do is I'll make sure there's an email for everyone, request that information, and I'll give them a due date.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so again,
Sounds good.
our hope is, hopefully they'll respond quickly. We'll give them a due date, and if they don't, then obviously there's an assumption that they may not respond. We may even put a box in there and say decline to respond, and at least we know they saw the email.
Okay, thank you.
Any other things that you want to look through this before you start your evaluation this week?
I don't have anything. I think we've come to the spot that we need to go back to individually do our own research and then try to prepare for the next meeting.
All right, well, with that, thank you all and appreciate your involvement. We'll make sure that we'll share any updates between now and the next meeting with you.
Sounds good. Thanks. And thanks, Josh. Great work on this.
No, thanks, Tom.
It was very helpful. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Bye, everyone.